Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth with 217 Creations, and I'm here today to show you how I built a Gypsy file to replicate the cover of the Twilight Saga novel Breaking Dawn, which has the two chess pieces, the queen and the pawn. And I know they're not going to be exact replicas of the cover, but if you're a fan of Twilight, you would get the idea, especially if I was to cut the pawn in red and the queen in white, and of course with the help of a Twilight font that I've created on my Cricut Gypsy, that will also go a long way to really making this look like a great piece. I'm so excited to show this to you. So in case those of you who have not seen the Twilight books or are not sure what I'm talking about, let me go ahead and show you the cover. This is the cover of Breaking Dawn, and as you can see, there's a pawn in the back and then the queen in the front. And so what I am going to show you today is how I made this. Now when I decide I'm going to replicate a shape from something, I decide that I need to look at it as pieces and not as a whole, because if you look at the image as a whole, it can be very daunting to think, oh my gosh, how am I going to recreate that edge and that edge and that edge and this line and that shape? It can just be very overwhelming. So to me, the best way that I can look at it and explain to my viewers how to look at something is to look at it in terms of basic shapes. Because we are working with paper, there's no way we're going to get the shadows and the definitions and all the details that go into a three-dimensional piece that you see on a book or a movie cover or whatever the case may be. So what I like to do, I'm going to bring the book back over here, and we're going to focus on the pawn. I'm going to show you how I built that, and we're going to talk about that one. So when I look at something like this, I look at it in terms of shapes. So let's see what shapes we have here. We have a circle. We also have a piece that looks like it's narrow and then gets wider. Looks like we've also got kind of a base, and we've got this like halo flattened oval looking thing right through here. So that is the basic shapes I'm looking for. So I count what I'm looking at. I'm going 1, 2, 3 to 4 shapes is what I'm seeing when it comes to replicating this. And so what I did once I had that is I went to my Gypsy. Now this entire file, I'm going to prop this up so you can see here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Hang on with me. Okay. This entire file was built using Gypsy Wanderings. Now, I'm just using basic shapes. George and Basic Shapes have these images as well as Plankton Schoolbook. So this could be rebuilt on a number of different cartridges. There's nothing saying that this could only be built on Gypsy Wanderings. I just happened to be playing with that one. I liked the way it was coming out, and so I just stuck with it. But these shapes are available on other cartridges. So do not think that there's no way that you can do this without a Gypsy, because you can do this in Design Studio. And so what I've done is pulled up, zoom in for you here, the 4 pieces that I think. There's the circle, there's an oval, there's kind of a base looking thing, and then there's that trapezoid kind of narrow looking thing. So once I do this, then I sit down and I start stretching and rotating to get my images look the way I want them to. And the biggest way that I can say you can do this and save yourself a lot of heartache is by unlocking the aspect ratio, which is this little chain link between the width and the height. Default is on. See how it turned yellow? I'm going to turn it off. I don't even bother keeping it on when I know I'm replicating shapes, because there's no way I'm going to keep this in its original form. I'm going to have to stretch and manipulate the image to get it to look the way I want it to. Now, for the sake of time, I've already played with this, of course, because I showed you my test cuts. So I'm going to show you how I stretched these and got them to look the way I wanted them to. So let's start with the circle, which is the top of the pawn. And don't worry about trying to write all these down. I've got the measurements on the blog, so you can go there and jot the measurements down. And so on the width, I'm going to 0.79. And on the height, I'm going to go to 0.76. Whoops. Okay. You have to bear with my camera. It doesn't like big changes in light. So let's go ahead to the flattened oval. And on this one, I know that I need it at 0.25. And then I need it at 1.12 for the height. Okay. All right, so there's that. Look at the difference already. Do you see how it's stretched out? I told the Gypsy I don't want it to have it as wide as much as I want to have it long. So now I'm going to come to that rectangular base, and this one's going to go to 0.21. And then on the height, I'm going to go to 1.10. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Okay, and last but not least is the trapezoid. And on this one, we're going to go to 1.00. And on the height, we're going to go to 1.93. Okay, let that come back into focus. Okay, so there's our shapes. Look at those. Don't those look like the pieces? I mean, there's no way you're going to get it to look exactly like the book because that's a three-dimensional item. We're working with paper, so we have something that's flat. It's not going to have that kind of dimension. So what I'm going to do from here is just show you kind of how I built it. But as you can see, just by stretching and making things more narrow or more tall, as the case may be, you can really change up these shapes to create some really fabulous images. So even if a cartridge doesn't have per se like a chess piece, you can build your own. You don't have to be stuck with whatever the cartridges are given to you. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go ahead and just assemble it for you real quick. Because I've already played with this, I'm just going to type in my X and Y locations. I'm going to go kind of quick here, so just hang in there. On my little thing. And what I want to really share with you as encouragement is that as long as I've owned my Gypsy, I still have to do test cuts. There's no way that I design a file or an image and have it right away come out exactly the way I want it. That is so rare. And I've had my Gypsy since they launched last fall. So hang in there and don't be afraid to do test cuts. I almost always have to do a test cut. There's just no way of knowing for sure that it's going to work out. Okay, so I've kind of built these pieces out together already for you. But what I want you to notice is, as you can see, the image defaults to this way. And I need to rotate those. So I'm going to come in, grab that rectangular base. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. I'm going to do the same thing with the flattened oval. If my Gypsy will cooperate, there we go. And 90 degrees. And look at that. So what I'm going to do from here, because I want to be able to size this up and down, is I'm going to group these all together. Oops. Okay, so the whole thing is grouped. It's blue. I'm going to come in, I'm going to weld it, and then I'm going to preview it. And the gray, of course, won't cut. And as you can see, we've got our shape. So that is how the file is built. As you can see, it's not as complicated as it may appear at first. If you give yourself the time to play with this aspect ratio, that's what makes all the difference when it comes to building these shapes. So let's talk about test cuts, because that's what we were discussing before. Move this out of the way. And here are my cuts. Okay, so I already showed you the final one, which is this one right here. This is my first one, there's my second one, there's my final one. This took me 3 cuts before I had it the way I wanted it. So what I did on the first one, this was created while I was just sitting upstairs playing. As you can see, I didn't think it came out far enough on the sides, and it didn't come far enough on the bottom. So that's when I grabbed that rectangle, added that, to the bottom, stretched out that one there on the halo. Loved the halo, kept it, decided I needed to stretch out that base a little bit more to give it more definition. And that's how it goes. So I hope this gives you some idea and some inspiration for maybe trying to recreate your own shapes. If you have any questions, please email me. As always, I appreciate comments, subscribers, and followers. And visit my blog for all the measurements and the details as I build out this Twilight file that I will eventually be sharing with all of you. So thank you so much and have a great day.